You are watching Insight with Praveen Puram, straight from Atlanta. Today, our esteemed guest is Saanvi Sita Mylavarapu. Hi, Saanvi, how are you? How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you. Thank you for your time. And let's get started, Saanvi. Let me introduce you. So, Saanvi is a 15-year sophomore from Frisco, Texas. She has started hiking when she was 6 years old, from moderate to very strenuous hikes, backpack for several days in the different terrains, mountains, valleys, canyons, cliffs, rainforests, glaciers, etc. With over 25 plus national park in the USA, and she recently hiked in Everest Base Camp and Kalapathar and a few mountains in Kumbu region. She is a US National Park Ambassador for 2022 and 23. She's on a mission spreading awareness and advantage of being close to nature, encouraging millennials by sharing her stories, creating videos on nature, conversation, etc. Her effort caught attention from several media outlets such as NBC, CBS, WGN, and was on the front page of newspapers and magazines. Wow, wonderful, Saanvi. What a effort you have made on this. So today, let's get started about your journey, Saanvi. Before we get into a journey, I would love to, you to say about yourself if I have missed anything.
Yes, so my name is Saanvi Sita Mylavarapu. I am currently a sophomore at Independence High School. I recently moved to Dallas, Texas, after being born and brought up in Chicago, Illinois.
Excellent, excellent. So, Saanvi, I think I see that you started your journey 6 years when you were 6 years. Typically, when you are in 6 years, it's very tough to do this job. So, how did you develop this interest? What is your journey towards this? Can you please explain about this to our viewers?
So when I was 6 years old, I remember my dad went on a hiking trip with his friends to Grand Canyon National Park. And when he got back, I remember him telling my family about the amazing experience he had and how, being in nature and hiking was just a completely different experience. And it was something that only, you could experience if you were, a certain level of fitness, and only he could do it. And then after that, I remember we were on a road trip and Mammoth Caves National Park was actually on our way. So my mom decided to reroute our trip to Mammoth Caves National Park. And after we went to Mammoth Caves National Park, it completely changed the experience of what vacations mean to us as a family. I think as a family, we fell in love with nature, but more importantly, my mom really, really loved that experience. And the next trip, my mom planned for us to go to Arches National Park, Canyonlands National Park, and Bryce National Park, which is all in Utah. And ever since then, we've been visiting more and more national parks. And while visiting these national parks, I realized that there's so much more that we can do to nature, and nature is helping us in all kinds of ways. And the more national parks I visited, the more my love for nature organically grew. And since my love for nature grew, so did my love for the planet. And that's how I started to become more aware about how my actions are directly impacting the planet.
Absolutely. I think there is a huge need to save the planet, Saanvi. I think your effort will definitely do that. So typically, I feel that the inspiration and the journey started through your father, right? So what do they do, your father and mother?
So my father works in a bank and my mom works for a healthcare firm.
Excellent, excellent. Hats off to them for encouraging you and inspiring you to get close to the nature. So Saanvi, how do you plan your trips now? Because I know that now you might be like 15 years plus, right? So it's already you have started your journey 9 years back. And how do you feel now? What is your confidence level? What kind of planning you do to go to the hiking, or what kind of places you choose?
I have a list of places that I want to go. I want to explore as much of the earth as I possibly can. So first, what I do is I research the different types of terrain that I'm going to be encountering on the hike. in case I want to know if it's going to be mountains. I need to know if it's going to be canyons, if there's going to be lakes, if there's going to be, if it's going to be uphill, if it's going to be downhill, how long I'm going to be camping there. And I need to know the different kinds of weather conditions. I need to know if it's going to be snowy. I need to know if it's going to rain. I need to know if it's going to be extremely sunny in order for me to plan what type of gear I need. Once I figure out the different types of terrain that I'm going to encounter and the weather that I'm going to encounter, I can decide what type of gear to bring. And then I have to research the many different types of gears that are available in order for me to choose the correct gear for my trip. Gear is probably one of the most important things that shapes your trip, because if you don't choose the right gear, it could greatly impact the quality of the trip and how much you enjoy it. I think one other really big part of preparation is making sure you're mentally and physically able to do the hike. For being physically fit, I think the greatest preparation for any hike you can do is to go on more hikes to prepare for the hike. Going on hikes in nature is a completely different experience than going on a treadmill or walking. So I think that's the biggest type of preparation you can do. And you also have to be mentally fit, because there are many parts on a hike when you feel like to give up, when it starts to get really, really tough, and you have to remember the end goal, what you are striving for. For example, on my Everest Base Camp hike, when I was climbing up Kalapatar, the night before, I slept pretty late because we had hiked all the way to Everest Base Camp. And in the morning, we woke up at 4:30 a.m. and it was pitch black dark outside. And it was so cold. And as we started hiking, it was a complete uphill. And I did not pack the correct shoes, which I should have packed insulated shoes, but I was wearing my normal hiking boots, which made my feet get really cold and also made my hands get really cold. So while I was hiking, it wasn't that much of a good experience. And I felt like to give up a lot. But the moment when I first saw the sunrise hit Everest, the top of Mount Everest, it made everything worth it. And when I saw the amazing panoramic views of some of the biggest mountains in the Himalayan regions, such as Lobuche, Amadablam, Everest, Lhotse, Nuptse, it just makes everything worth it. And one thing is that you don't remember the pain and the discomfort of the hike, but you'll always remember the amazing views. So now looking back on it, I don't really remember the amount of pain and discomfort I was in during the Kalapatar hike. But that image of the first sunrise on the top of Mount Everest will forever be in my head. And the panoramic views that I experienced on my day will forever stay with me.
Absolutely, Saanvi. I think I have been following you on the Instagram and I've been watching the different views. They are really, really amazing. So before we go more on to the Everest, I also wanted to ask you, how do you manage your time, Saanvi? Because now the interest is more on your hikes, mountains, and all those kinds of stuff. So how do you manage if it is more beyond 2 days in your week? So how do you manage your school and this passion?
Well, life is all about balancing. So I had to learn to balance everything. I have my school. I also am a classically trained Western violinist. I'm also training in Kuchipudi right now, and I also sing Carnatic music. And along with that, I also have my passion for hiking and nature. So life is all about balancing. You just have to balance it correctly, and you can do anything you want then.
Amazing, Saanvi. I think it looks like you are multi-talented, right? I think you're a gifted child, obviously. And how do you have any of your classmates also inspired by you with this hiking?
Yeah, my classmates definitely support me a lot, and they follow me on my Instagram, and they are definitely inspired. After coming back from any of my hiking trips, I always tell all my friends and my classmates about them. And they've definitely started to go more outdoors and start doing more outdoor activities now.
So typically you plan how many hikes in a month? So do you plan well in advance by your experience?
Yeah, I definitely had to plan well in advance, especially since I need to make sure I get the correct gear, and I want to make sure I'm going at the appropriate weather time for each hike, because for certain hikes you can't go for certain months of the year because it can be too dangerous because of the weather. So for bigger hikes, I'll definitely plan a couple of months in advance. But for smaller, more local hikes, I'm constantly going whenever I have free time. I'm constantly going to my local nature preserve, and I'm constantly just looking for new trails to go and hike out near my house.
So, Saanvi, I was also looking at some of your videos, like when you were on the heights, walking on a narrow wall kind of a mountain. It was very scary when I look at them. Definitely, I will show some of the clippings to all the audience. But I think you were probably 7 or 8 years, right? At the time, if I see you look at your videos, didn't you get scared on the height mountains?
I wasn't scared, just because when you're out in nature and when you're hiking so much from a young age, it teaches you a lot of survival skills, and it also helps you get past a lot of your fears, such as fear of heights, fear of spiders, fear of, just anything that you're scared of. It helps you get over it. And I think that really helps me build my character as I'm growing. And the experiences that I went through when I was younger hiking definitely reflect on the type of person I am today. And as you said, like walking on the side of cliffs and stuff, that's normal for me now. But definitely when I was younger, I did have a little bit of trouble with it. But you quickly get past it as you do it more and more. And you realize, I'm not just going on a cliff to going on a cliff. I'm going on a cliff to, see these views. And I'm going on this cliff to experience nature.
Amazing, amazing, Saanvi. So let's talk about a little bit on the fitness. How do you ensure that you are fit for your, when you are going for the heights, trekking, and all those kinds of stuff? Definitely, as you go and gain some experience, you definitely think about, how should I be fit? So how much time you spend on fitness and what kind of fitness activities do you do?
Yeah, fitness, I would say, is one of the most important things when it comes to hiking, mental and physical fitness. Just because if you're not physically fit, then the hike won't be enjoyable. And if the hike's not enjoyable, then it's not a good experience for you, and you won't reap the same types of benefits than you normally would if the hike is enjoyable. So I do different types of hikes around me, and I'm on my cross country team at school, so I do a lot of running. I
Mhm.
also go to my rock climbing gym 2 to 3 times a week to train for outdoor rock climbing, which helps me with my arm strength and my stamina. But I think the best preparation you can do for hikes is hiking itself, for bigger hikes. And so for the Everest Base Camp hike, one way to prepare for that was going on more hikes. So I planned longer backpacking trips. I planned longer day hikes to see how far I could hike until, I got tired, and what I needed to work on in order to enjoy the Everest Base Camp hike. Because hiking is tough, and strenuous hikes definitely take a toll on your body. And it's important to especially be mentally tough in the times that you feel like to give up and you don't know if you can keep going. You have to remind yourself the real reason why you're hiking.
Wow, great. Sanvi, then how about food diet? Do you maintain some diet, or you're very specific about diet? What do you think a hiker should maintain the diet?
So I have been raised a strict vegetarian since I was younger. So I've always been eating vegetarian food. And when I go backpacking, I typically eat dehydrated foods full of protein.
Mhm.
But as I grow up, I hope to one day become vegan, because the meat and dairy industry has such a big impact on our climate, which many people aren't aware of. But I really hope to become vegan one day, just so I'd be helping our planet even more than I am now.
Amazing. Hope you become vegan soon. And Sanvi, what kind of support you get from your parents and teachers? How do you get the support? And every week you plan, so your parents will be joining with you, or how is that?
Yeah, my parents and my family, I get my friends to join me. We definitely go on hikes together a lot. I would say one of the most important thing when you're going hiking is to have good company. And for me, that's my family. My brother, he's in college now. And especially when my brother was in high school and I was in middle school, we wouldn't talk as much and we wouldn't bond as much. But when you're out for weeks and weeks backpacking, you're forced to talk to each other and you're forced to bond with each other. So it would make us bond with each other. It would make us talk to each other. And as a family, we would bond over the hard experiences. We would bond over the beautiful scenery. And it was just such a bonding moment for my family and I.
Absolutely. I agree with you because when you go for a week, the bonding raises automatically. And how do you plan your food, especially when you are going into the forests, mountains, and all those kinds of stuff? So, food planning will be definitely in water, everything. So, how do you plan? You ensure that you take for each day and come back again, or how is that?
So we take enough food for every single day. Typically for breakfast, we would probably just have a protein bar. And
Okay.
for lunch, we would also have a protein bar. And then dinner would be our first regular meal of the day, where we would have dehydrated packaged food, where we would have to pour warm water in, which would heat it up, and we would eat that for dinner. And typically those meals are full of protein, and we take one for each day. And we have to carry it in and we have to carry it out, because everything we carry in, we have to pack it out again. And I would say for um, just planning the meals ahead and stuff, we always choose foods that are extremely high in protein, just so we'll be sustained for the duration of our journey.
Absolutely. Sarvi, coming to this school, so definitely this hiking, you might have put some leaves as well, right? For your 1 week hikings and all. How do your teachers or your friends support during this? Did you hear all positive comments or sometimes negative? What's the feelings about your school?
I definitely hear more positive comments, especially when I went to Everest Base Camp. I remember my physics teacher, after I came back, he wanted me to tell the entire class about my experience and my journey. And then he wanted me to share photos. And then he shared my photos with the class as well. And that just so motivating when I see that. And it's so inspiring for me to see that my teachers are also supporting what I'm doing. And although it is hard to catch up because I am in high school, my teachers are so supportive and they help me catch up. And it just makes everything so much easier when your teachers and your friends and your peers and everyone around you is also supporting what you're doing.
No doubt about it, Sanvi. Great. Thanks to all your teachers, for encouraging you. And tell us more about this US National Park Ambassador. What is it all about and how did you get into this? What ignited this?
So I'm a National Park Trust ambassador this year,
Mhm.
and I'm taking this opportunity very seriously to spread my vision. I have several duties to perform. My main goal is to encourage kids to create clubs, conserve nature, preserve the national parks, and teach them about the benefits of visiting national parks and spending time with nature. I believe in not preaching, but by leading by example, which is why every time I go on an adventure, I make sure to share my story on my Instagram and my blog to hopefully inspire and motivate more kids and more teens to get away from technology and to spend more time with nature.
Great, Sanvi. We didn't even know that this role exists, National Park Ambassador. We wish you good luck in this role, and I'm sure that you will inspire the kids. And the main reason for this also to inspire all the NRIs, they will be watching this show or they will be seeing later and seeing your flyer. They understand that, wow, being close to nature is also one of the accomplishments which we can do. And I'm sure that everyone will follow you and visit more national parks and learn about nature. Absolutely.